Hello, you amazing friends. This is your pal, Edward Deere, speaking live from Sydney Harbour with amazing Steph Gobraiel. How are you today, Steph Gobraiel?
Good. How are you, Ed? Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I feel like a little star.
Oh, there we go. And for the sake of the audience, Steph Gobraiel is a powerful business mentor. She runs a company helping people with staff and strategic planning. Interestingly, this is the first of our new LinkedIn Live series. Tell us some of the crazy things we're going to be covering, Steph Gobraiel. What are some of the things on your mind?
Whatever you'd like to speak about today, Ed. I don't know.
Now, I was going to ask you to kick things off. And by the way, if you just come in, smash that like, share, and comment. Connect with Steph Gobraiel on LinkedIn. Steph, tell us a bit about what you do and some of the challenges that you help business owners with and some of the crazy stuff that happens to you on a daily basis.
Sure. So I help founders step into the CEO role by working on their business, not in their business, which is really the client work. And the reason why you work on your business is to build that pipeline for future potential clients. Now, having been, ex-corporate, I know what it's like, to be running on the hamster wheel and, doing it all yourself and putting yourself last. Well, there's an element of putting yourself first in this and you taking that control of your business, not the other way around.
Oh, absolutely brilliant and well said. I was going to ask you on that one, right? You work with a lot of amazing clients. What are some of the common issues that you deal with? So what do your clients call you up about and what do you have to deal with on a daily basis?
Yep. So there might be a lack of motivation or procrastination. And that's usually because there's something in the background that's stopping them from starting or wanting to do the work. And we work through that. There's also that element of, they know by talking to me that they will get that sort of motivation to just go and do it and stop overthinking and, thinking of every reason under the sun why they shouldn't be doing it, to be honest, Ed. So there's an element of coaching and there's an element of, strategy as well. So I just don't call myself a business coach. That's all.
Well, to me, the thing is, you actually, the way I see it, you're part business coach. This is at least my view. You're part business coach, you're part manager, you're part staffing, because I guess at the end of the day, you basically, in people's businesses, become one of their managers to help them achieve what they want to achieve.
Absolutely. And, their wins are my wins, so if they're celebrating, I'm right there celebrating with them, even if it's virtually, right? So, because you get clients all over Australia. It's not just, in Sydney. So absolutely, Ed.
Now, I want to ask you, and you're very good at this topic, we all procrastinate. I don't procrastinate much anymore, but a lot of people watching do procrastinate. Why do we do it? Where does procrastination come from? And how do you break it? Give us a full procrastination monologue, Steph.
Sure. So there's a few reasons why we procrastinate, right? One is a lack of direction. So if you don't have the structure for what you want to achieve, that could be one of the reasons why you're procrastinating. Another reason is the lack of, what are you working on, right? What have you committed to working on? And breaking that down. That's a really big one, because when someone sees a mountain, anyone would get overwhelmed. But if you're looking at one thing you need to achieve, it makes it so much easier. And then you know what you need to achieve. There's no need to procrastinate, right? So I think it's the direction and breaking it down that is the main reason why people procrastinate.
And fear as well, because at the end of the day, whenever we start something new, it's natural to get scared. Yeah. Where does fear come from and how do we overcome the fear?
I think the fear comes from the unknown and, really stepping out of your comfort zone. And it's something, again, unknown and your comfort zone, right? It's called a comfort zone for a reason. And, you've got to take that step, because when you get comfortable, that's when you're ready for that next step. It might be in business or it might be working on yourself or whatever it is. But if you're not able to work on yourself, it's very hard to take that next step in business.
And that's true, actually, because you work with a lot of high achievers, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're a nobody, you're not going to work with Steph. You're going to be a somebody, right? Now, again, without blowing any details, tell us some of the traits of your customers. What sort of people are they and what do they do?
Yep. So I mainly work with service-based business owners and people who want to go places. Do you know what I mean, Ed? So they're willing to, not take a back seat, but have someone in the passenger seat guiding them and, willing to do whatever it takes to go to that next step. I mean, I'm not asking people to jump off cliffs or anything like that. We're not, going that far, drastic, but, there is going to be stepping out of your comfort zone. But the way we do that in baby steps, right? Because like a child, you can't run before you can crawl, before you can walk, right? So it's a matter of breaking it down and getting comfortable at that next level. And then once you're comfortable there, it's a matter of going to that next level. And it's when they see the results, right? They'll get the confidence, they get the motivation, they want to keep going, they want to keep on that, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the, the momentum. That's the word I'm looking for.
And isn't that true? And I couldn't agree with you more. Like when you're starting out on something new, the fear can be really debilitating. You don't want to do anything. But the moment you get some wins, it kind of way gives you that second win and that sense of achievement. And what I want to ask you, there'll be a lot of people watching right now who are far in between wins. They haven't had wins for a long time. To anyone watching, and if you are watching, smash that like, share, and comment, say hello. For those who haven't had a win in a long time, what do you say to them to help turn their luck around and start winning?
I'd say pick one thing. Just one thing that you've been talking about that you want to do. Just one thing. Break it down into achievable and realistic, either tasks or, things that you can do week by week that will eventually sort of lead to that win, because nothing happens overnight, right, Ed? And, if you're juggling the client work, you're juggling home life, you're juggling all sorts of things, right? We've got to be realistic with this expectation. So just pick one thing and try and break it down and then hold yourself accountable, and you'll see, you'll see the progress you're making. And it's that progress that drives you even faster, Ed. But sometimes starting is the hardest part, right?
Yeah, and I love it. One of the frustrations that I have are people that they get started, then something happens and they fall off the perch. So, for example, I do a lot of LinkedIn, obviously. And one of the frustrations that I get all the time is people start posting on LinkedIn, they start reaching out to people, they start getting leads. Then all of a sudden life gets in the way and they stop for whatever reason, rightly or wrongly. Mm-hmm. How do we prevent ourselves from the stop-start, abrupt nature that really holds our lives back?
So I always say, Ed, plan ahead, because when you plan ahead, you're creating space for life to happen, right? So by planning ahead, I mean, there's all sorts of tools these days that can help your business, right? By scheduling your social media, that's what I mean by planning ahead. And it doesn't have to be all of it, but it's enough so that if something happens in life, you have that backup there. It's in the schedule. You're still showing up, and you might not be as present, but at least the work is done. So by planning ahead, I feel that's what can help people.
And that's brilliant. I love where you're going, Steph. Now, staff, how on earth do you keep staff motivated? You help a lot of clients out with staff as well. How do you keep them motivated and on track?
I think it's really, just being human and talking to them, see what's happening in their life, understanding and really taking the time to listen and empathize, with whatever is going on, because there's always something going on in our lives and we might not, bring it to work, but it could hinder the way we work. So really just understanding, they might not want to open up to you, but what's important is, for you to know what's going on. So if there might be a delay in finishing a project, or there might be a delay, maybe the team can help, or, maybe there's something that we can do to help that staff member, because that's what we're there for, essentially, as the management team.
I love it. Now, I want to talk to you about business networking. You do a lot of business networking. You're active in our own network, and thank you. And you do a lot of women's-based networking as well, which I think is fantastic. I think it's great that women also have their own spaces that they can work in. Tell us all about women's networking. Tell us about what you've learned, and I'm kind of, especially as a guy, as a proud Aussie Arab guy, tell me all about women's networking. Like, do you do makeup, lipstick? Just kidding. What is women's networking about? Because I'm not allowed to go because I'm a dude. Tell me all about women's networking.
Well, I love running networking for women because, in small business, the sky's the limit, Ed. And I don't feel that women empower each other enough. By bringing women in business together, I feel, it's being that example that, we can, support each other. We can build new connections, and what everyone brings to the table is very unique. So there is space, for whatever business you are running, no matter how similar, someone next to you is doing that. But if we stand up and clap for each other, instead of trying to look at each other as competition, that's the sort of the example I want to lead, and people see that, because I think networking events also speak to, the atmosphere. People feel if it's somewhere where it's going to be just relaxed, we're having a conversation, we're building those connections, or if it's all about, here's my business card, nice to meet you, see you later sort of thing. And it's just creating a safe space for women, because as business owners, we don't all have big teams, or like, for example, my team's online, they're scattered over Australia. So, it's really about, I guess, being that example that, we should be helping each other and connecting with each other and building each other up more than anything.
I'm with you because, and I hate to say it, but I've seen a lot of networking events. Not ours, of course, we're not like that, but I'm going back a few years ago when I was in some other networks, especially some of those breakfasts. I won't say that they're anti-women, but they didn't exactly hold women in a high regard, right? And one thing that I always saw, and I say it's tragically, right? I say it's very tragically, is that women would always have to work twice as hard as men because they would just not be taken as seriously. And again, the majority of our clients are women. I talk to women about this all the time. A lot of women think that, right? A lot of women think that a lot of networking spaces aren't for them, right? Mm-hmm. And so I agree with you. I think there is a great place for women's-based networking events. However, one thing is, though, and this is, I'm talking generally, but I say this all the time, I find a lot of women hold themselves back. I find, generally speaking, a man's more likely to go for it, where a woman's more likely to be more reserved. And what do you think of that whole topic? Again, I hear this from a lot of women. What do you think of that angle?
And I think, Ed, that's why we need to support and encourage each other so they can put themselves, front and center the way, men do. I'm sorry, but there's no difference between a man and a woman. They can both run successful, businesses, but they just need to work on that, right? And for them, finding that safe space, right? Here comes the Arab, with the hands, but finding that safe space for them is so important because that's where they're going to learn, and that's where they can feel like they can come out of their shell and be themselves and build that confidence.
I love it. And you said the Arab word, so I have to bring that up now. I was waiting for you to say it. So a bit of trivia for you. So Steph and I are both very proud Aussie Arabs, right? And we have this running joke. Whenever we talk and we get excited, we'll do the finger, we'll do the whole thing, right? And a bit of humor for you. During winter, I turn very white. No one believes I'm an Arab. The moment it's summer, I start looking like an Arab again. You said the same thing happens to you. During winter, they just think you're a white lady, don't they?
Exactly the same thing, Ed. And you know what? You're the first person that has, that it's not a problem, but it has the same sort of thing. So, it's funny how, we're like chameleons, I guess.
Yeah. So I find it funny now. I find that very interesting because in women's networking, right? Mm-hmm. And I get it. I think it's great. I think it's great that women have their own spaces for networking. However, I do go back to that though. I find women just hold themselves back too much. I see it all the time. And I'm always talking to women saying, you need to go for it and go for it and go for it. Now, there's a whole science. We're going to go very Jordan Peterson if we're going to talk about why that's the case. But talking to women, what do you say to women to really help them go for it, sort of break off from the shackles of their past? So, yep, you have got the women's space networking. But when they're out there talking to everyone, what's your advice to them to make women very powerful and potent in what they do?
I like to think that, I can personally tell if a woman is, either shy or reserved, or like, the behaviors, the body language, all of that sort of thing really speaks more than people's words sometimes, Ed. And, I think there's a couple of things here. Okay. First is your years in business, right? When you start a business, you're not going to be very confident because, you're navigating a very unknown world, right? So I think that plays a big factor. And that was part of, how I started as well. And then, as your business sort of evolves and, all of that, you build a confidence because you're constantly working on yourself and your business, right? But I also tell women, get out there. What's the worst that can happen, right? And if we don't take that chance, you'll never know, which is going to be a bigger regret than doing it and getting a no, for example, or not right now. But people feed off people's confidence. That's the other thing, Ed. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's really inspiring when, people say to me, oh, I love how you show up, all the time and all of this sort of thing. Well, I say to them, well, if you want to go next level in your business, you have to. This isn't a hobby for me. This is my livelihood. So, I am going to keep, building on myself and taking small steps. When I started, Ed, I had only one photo on my website, just the one, and it was on my about page, right? Because I had this very corporate mentality. Because as an executive assistant, you make the magic happen behind the scenes, not front and center. And then I had this coach who explained to me that in business, you have to be front and center. So I did the baby steps. I did, a branding photography shoot. The next thing was starting videos. But, I built up to everything. Nothing happens overnight. So that's why I'm saying if we can break it down into really small steps, that's what's going to help you sort of gain that confidence and go, up the stairs or up the ladder, however you want to look at it.
Oh, brilliant. Now, Steph, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag nice and early. So I understand that you're doing quite a great reboot. You're rebranding. You're launching a membership community. Tell us a bit about what you've got cooking, if you don't mind me bringing this up on LinkedIn Live.
Slightly late, Ed, but sure, why not? So I am changing the name of my business, and I am adding. I'm not completely changing the branding because I do feel I am quite as bubbly as my colors are and everything else. But there is going to be a little bit more of a serious element to it. I've been working with a great, graphic designer that I've known for 3 years now. And she has nailed exactly what I want with the logo. And, it's not using a new color. It was a secondary color. So yes, I am going to be releasing that hopefully. Well, I'm releasing it tomorrow, the logo. So it's going to be called S38 Business Management, because this is one of those things, Ed, I actually did a tip on it this morning, that self-awareness is important. If you keep hearing the same message from everybody, you need to sort of stop and reevaluate what you're doing in that area in order to be able to move forward, because people's feedback can be priceless, right? So my new business name is S38 Business Management, and that will slowly be released from tomorrow. So I'm very excited about that, and I'm excited about the new chapter. And look, it's a little bit, I'm not going to lie, right? There's always an element of, oh my God, are people going to like this? Like there's that unknown, as we talked about before, so, but you've got to take the step if you keep hearing that same sort of feedback. And it's just a matter of cutting the cord sometimes and going, legacy is great, but it's time. If we're going to go to new levels, this is what we need to do.
And Steph, very excited about what you're coming up. And I just want to say a big thank you. I know you're a busy lady. Thank you for being with us. Love to hear from you some closing thoughts, and also to please explain to people how they can get into contact with you and how they can work with you.
Sure. So just a recap, just pick one thing if you haven't, started something you've wanted to do all year, because we're in the last quarter, but you know what, by the end of the year, you can still achieve that one thing. It's really a matter of breaking it down and, being realistic with the time that you're going to allocate for it. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, or My website is currently Virtual Associate Services. I've also got a company page on LinkedIn as well, but feel free to connect with me.
Beautiful. Steph, thank you so much. And to everyone watching, smash that like, share, and comment, be you watching the recording alive. Connect with Steph and expect more live streams as well. Steph, thank you so much. I know you're a busy lady. Appreciate you big time.
Thank you, Ed. Have a great day.
Love your work all.